Hi, I'm Kate. This is my channel, and this is my review of Sudden Appearance of Hope by Claire North. Claire North is a pseudonym for Kate Griffin. I haven't read anything by Kate Griffin, but under the name Claire North, I've read The First 15 Lives of Harry, August, and Touch, and now Sudden Appearance of Hope. These three books have a theme running through them about identity and our relationship to our own identity and how our identities are formed by other people's relationships to us, and all those sorts of things. I think that's a big draw for Claire North's work, is that theme. It's really interesting, especially because she sort of approaches it from a not quite fantastical but pseudo science fictional approach. So this book is about Hope Arden, who has a really unfortunate condition where nobody can remember her. While you're talking to her, while she's in your line of vision, within earshot, you're sort of aware of her. You're like, okay, I'm talking to this woman, and that's all good. But the second she walks away, or you can't hear her anymore, you forget her, and she comes back, and you have no idea who she is, and you just start the conversation again. So she can't form relationships. Her parents forgot her when she was 16 years old. She has no relationship. She can't hold down a job. She can't order at restaurants. Going to the hospital is a disaster because you don't get any help, and you could die because you're sick and no one's helping you, even though you're in a hospital. That's kind of the pseudoscientific aspect of this book. Plot-wise, it's about this app called Perfection. That's basically an advertising app that claims to make you perfect and a better version of yourself. And it's kind of cult-like in its in everyone's enthusiasm for it. They were going around talking to each other. Do you have perfection? Do you have perfection? Oh my God, I just feel more like me, the better version of myself. It starts making suggestions about how you could live your life better. About the really good gym near you is this one, and this is the membership you should get, and this is the self-help course that you should enroll in, and this is the job that you should apply for. This is the plastic surgery you should get. All of those sorts of things, and it becomes like this little cult. And as you earn points for following Perfection suggestions, and the more points you get, the higher up in levels you get, and then eventually you get to be in this exclusive club full of really movers and shakers and the beautiful people of the world. And so Hope has a friend who she can't really be a friend with, but this woman that she really likes and admires, who has perfection, and she's also depressed, but nobody realizes that she's depressed, and she doesn't interpret Perfection suggestions as helpful. She sees it as almost as accusations about not being perfect. She can't keep up with the process, and she commits suicide. So Hope really has she hates perfection. Destroy this woman, and the more she looks into it, and the more we look into it with her, she's right. It's disgusting. It's really scary because it's just marketing, and if somebody could figure out how to make this app, I'm sure they would. It does move on further past just marketing until you get to the point where it starts getting you to take what they call treatments, which involves like electrodes and changing your brain chemistry, and like almost brainwashing and your thought processes and things like that. So it's about Hope's journey to bring down this terrible company that's produced this app and is making so much money, and everybody loves it, but it's genuinely terrifying. I was a little bit confused by these two things put together. By these two things, I mean this woman who can't be held in memory, who nobody can remember, and this app. Thematically, they fit together. It's, as I was saying, it's about identity and your relationship to your identity, and how you form your identity, and how you form your identity in relation to other people. Plot-wise, I wasn't always sure if it worked, but then when I actually tried to pull it apart, neither really stood up on their own. kind of needed both those elements, which is interesting from, you know, the point of view of breaking down literature and trying to critique it and see how it functions as a text. That was quite interesting. But I'm still not convinced that it really worked together. But what I saw this book ultimately about, and why I really, really loved it, I gave it, on Goodreads, I gave it 5 stars, is it's a character study. It is about Hope Arden and her struggle to find herself when there is nobody who can tell her who she is. She has to figure that out completely on her own without reference to anybody else. And that was really heartbreaking. And, you know, sometimes you think, oh, it'd be so great not to, you know, have to deal with that, not to have to deal with other people's expectations. But it's not just other people's expectations, it's your relationship with other people that form your identities. So that was really interesting, especially because she has all these coping mechanisms. You know, she's clearly got some issues. You know, I don't want to diagnose her, but she's got some almost, I don't want to diagnose her, but she's got some interesting coping mechanisms. You know, she counts when she's stressed. You know, she counts her steps and how many steps is it from the front door to the shop, how many steps is it from here to there, and she counts her steps between people. And I imagine that began because, you know, she counts how long it's going to take for this person to forget her, but she counts a lot. And another one of her coping mechanisms is to look at the words that she's using and to define them, and she's constantly defining words throughout this book. And often, you know, she defines a series of words, boom, 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 boom. And together they form this, it's a really interesting way of building tension and a really interesting way of getting into her head, because they're not necessarily dictionary definitions, though they are, but the way they're presented, especially in conjunction with each other, gives you a really interesting insight into her state of mind. And she also, you know, just lists facts after fact after fact, which gives context to her world. And she even says that she puts knowledge in place of emotion. She can't have emotions the way other people have emotions. So in that place, she's put information, and she can just spout facts. And, you know, she can recite poetry, and she can list earnings of companies, and she can, you know, give you factoids about Japan, and she can do all these amazing things because she can't have a relationship with you, but she can do this instead. And as a way to create character and voice for a book, that was really interesting. And I found that the most interesting part, because you see her growth throughout the book, and she sort of has this moment of realization that she's not a person that she wants to be. You know, for one thing, she has no impulse control. Someone's pissing her off, she can just punch them and then walk away and come back and be like, okay, oh look, you have a bloody nose, how did that happen? And like, I really don't know how I got this bloody nose, but how are you? And she can start the conversation again. She doesn't need impulse control. She pickpockets because somebody on the street pissed her off, so she steals their watch. And you sort of see over time how throughout the book she stops doing that. You pissed me off, I want to steal your, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm just going to walk away. And you can see her growth in that way. And she stops counting as much as well, which I'm only just realizing now. She stops counting as much. She's still defining words, and she's still listing things, but she's finding a better way to be, and she comes to terms in really interesting ways. And she does form relationships. They can't be true relationships, but through these kinds of relationships with other people who are trying to bring down perfection, she finds other ways to be, because people are, you know, some people are like, oh, you're amazing, you're incredible, you're a miracle, you're so free. And she's like, no, I'm really not. And then other people are like, you are a monster because you can't, like, you are a terrible, terrible person. And she's like, well, how else do you expect me to be? Because I can't do these things. I'm like, still a terrible person. And that really impacts her. And I found that so interesting. And this book was a revelation. I think that's what I want to say. From a character point of view, from a point of view of voice, as a wannabe writer, it was really interesting. And as a way to look at myself, I was really interested in this book. But I think that's enough rambling. I really enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it? Do you know if there are any good reviews of this book that discuss these sorts of things? I couldn't find anything, and I'm really interested to know what other people thought of this book, and you know, about the voice and identity and those sorts of things. So if you know of anything, please let me know, because I found this book to be revelatory. So I'm Kate. This is my channel. This is my review of The Sudden Appearance of Hope by Claire North. Bye.